All right, welcome into another episode of the STR podcast, otherwise known as the Start the Rebuild podcast. I'm your co-host, Tim Fournier, alongside Ian Mills.
It is a Friday once again, episode 21, the Frank
Deion,
Gore episode.
Frank Gore, the Deion Sanders,
Uh,
the Devon Witherspoon, I think.
Zeke Elliott,
Zeke,
first for the Cowboys.
Zeke
Uh,
V1.
um, I think we talked about this last week, but CJ Spiller in the preseason of his rookie year.
Before he
I
switched
think,
to 28. And at
yeah,
some point, Leotis McKelvin was definitely 21,
yeah.
I think.
Brian Dawkins were 21, no? Or he were 20.
I think he was 20.
All right. Well,
Maybe Sean Taylor?
can't get that one wrong. I'm gonna look at that up.
Pretty sure he was 21, no?
Dun, dun, dun. He wore 36 and 21.
Okay,
I don't
well,
know which one came first, but
I got one
so
right.
he was in fact.
Sneaky Ladarius Webb back in the
Mm,
day as well.
mm.
But
Well,
first of all, I got a big topic for today. But
sure. Go ahead.
do we want to jump into first of all, just like how was the week? Let's start there. Let's get the juices flowing.
Good week. It was a weird week. I'm like finally getting so my days off at work are Tuesdays and Thursdays. It's just super kind of annoying. And it's not annoying. I like it. But it's weird getting adjusted to that.
Yeah, so like
Because
Mondays and Wednesdays are your nights to do stuff.
exactly. Yeah, exactly. But Mondays, I don't get out until midnight. And Wednesdays, I get out at 8, but it is by far like my longest day at work because I'm driving to and from Buffalo. So I'm like exhausted both days. So it's like this weird little like it sort of like depends on like I'll text someone, try to hang out on Wednesday night, but I don't get out of work until 8 and then I'm exhausted and they have to work the next day. So it's like kind of this weird like trying
Yeah,
to
I guess
get
that
to
is
do something.
yeah, that is kind of tough. And then it's like
Yeah.
you're free in the middle of the day on Tuesdays and Thursdays,
Yeah.
and that's got to be like kind of a
Yeah.
weird like, oh, I'm just
Yeah.
like going to the gym at 1 o'clock or
Yeah.
whatever you're doing.
So like yeah, exactly. So like on Thursdays, like that's almost my like date. Like Tuesdays is almost like my catch up day. Like that's when I'm running
Yeah.
my errands and stuff. And so what Thursdays sort of become is my like relaxation day. Like if I want to do something, I'm doing something on Thursday. However, this week it kind of flipped. Like yesterday I did a bunch of chores and errands, and then Tuesday I kind of relaxed. So it's just like getting used to that is weird because like the weekend, like Friday and Saturday and Sunday, like those are my busiest days of the week. Well, I guess Wednesday is still the busiest day, but like
Mhm.
I'm working consecutive days, and it's just weird. It's not bad by any means. It's just like getting used to that, and I'm trying to like find the rhythm. Um,
Sure.
it's I'm getting there, but overall week was good. Got a lot of work done. Had a good work week, so to speak. So excited
Sweet.
for the weekend.
Yeah,
Week.
me too. Um, yeah, my week was a lot of big like setup week, I guess. Like I kind of got back into routine because I was gone last weekend, and then or yeah, went back to my college in Wisconsin and went to a football game, which was really cool to see everybody. So that was very cool. And then when I got back, just school, and I had a lot of, like coffee, like networking meetings to like reach out to people, talk to them because I'm in my, job search phase. And one of the things I also did was meet with my advisor to kind of set up my classes moving forward. And I think we talked about it in the last one, but I'm getting 2 degrees now, my
Yeah.
master's and my MBA. So I'm going to have some very, very busy semesters coming up here if my goal is still to finish within 2 years, which it is. So this semester is still pretty light, and I'm kind of looking at it as like my semester to figure out exactly the route I want to go down and then like lock something down to start working in the next semester. And once I start working and doing the dual program, that's going to be a lot. But yeah, now I'm done with my marathon training for the week as well. And I've kind of found a new like group of good friends here in Charlotte. So we're all getting together, and I'm hosting the pregame before we all go out tonight.
Nice. Look
So
at you go.
big day. Like no one has been in my apartment yet either, other than like me and
Oh,
like my parents.
you
So
got to get like the streamers. You got to freak them out. You have so much decorations that they walk in and be like, "Who the hell is this guy? What did
yeah,
I get
I
myself
should go
into?"
all out. I should just like
Dude,
do something like they would never expect. Like make
I
it all
have a
pink,
buddy.
neon green.
I have a buddy like that in college, or that I'm still friends with, but I met him in college. His name's Adam. He's not gonna get mad at me saying this because he would agree. He goes like to the 11th degree with every little thing we do, and everyone loves it. Like people love it because he'll make things more interesting. Like things will be more fun.
Yeah,
Even my girlfriend does this too, like with decorations and whatnot. And yeah, like that wouldn't like we would have like when we were in like our suite sophomore year, we had like streamers up, even though we were just it was just like our apartment, but he would just do stuff like that. But people liked it. Not saying you should do that, but just that reminded me of it. Did Wisconsin win this weekend? I was not paying
they
attention.
beat Purdue 52-6, their best game of the year
Oh,
by far. Yeah, and they haven't looked very good this year, so that was nice because there's a lot of stuff going on in the program that people aren't happy with. We had a starting running back just kind of like retire the season and say it's like medically related, but there's a lot of like what's going on with the program type stuff. Braylon Allen, who's in the
I was gonna say
NFL, was
Braylon
tweeting
Allen. I
out
was gonna say
like, I'll get on a podcast someday and talk about what was going on there. And ooh, I don't. But they won 52-6, so
can't be mad at that. Being a Big Ten opponent,
yeah. And then I think they have Rutgers this week, who's been pretty good this year. So it'll be interesting.
Big Ten's interesting. College football's interesting this year.
Do you have a specific college football team that you root for?
Nope.
Yeah, I was
I
gonna say. Like I feel like I
honest,
should know if you do.
honestly, so I kind of like pick one team a year.
Yeah, it's
And
like
sort of like
yeah.
which like at this point in the college football landscape, things change so frequently that you can honestly my college actually didn't have a college football team. Go Bearcats! You know, we women's soccer team real good, women's volleyball team real good, baseball team real good, but no football team. However,
Ball team,
uh, huh?
basketball team.
They do have a basketball team, men's and women's. Lavelle Sanders, shout out my guy, men's basketball coach. I wouldn't say good friends with him, but I certainly know him pretty well. Maybe we are good friends. You know, I'll have to ask him today what
Yeah.
he thinks our relationship is like. Point is,
Oh, Lord.
last year Alabama was my team, which sounds stupid, but I kind of like you know this about me. I kind of like in high school I loved Coach Cal. Like I rooted for Kentucky because I loved Coach Cal, and I kind of fell in love with Coach Nick Saban the same way because I do love coaches, and it used to be a rarer breed. Now it's more common, but it used to be a rare breed where coaches really cared about guys going pro. Like that is Coach Cal's number one thing is how do I get this guy to play in the NBA?
Hmm.
That's that is not Nick Saban's number one goal is to get guys played in the NFL, but he's very good at it and he cares about guys making it to the league. And I really like that aspect. And obviously, it was his last season. Not, I don't think we knew it was his last season going in, but obviously, he was getting up there in age. And so I rooted for Alabama and almost went really well for me. Almost went really well.
Almost. I wish it did. I wish it was them
This,
and not Michigan.
yeah, well, yeah. This year, I think I'm rolling with Oregon.
Hmm.
I'd sort of one
They've
of those
looked
things
like
like,
a little shaky in terms of being like a top team. This week's gonna
yeah,
be a test.
yeah. They, I like first week, they almost lost to Idaho, right? Or
Yeah.
Vandals and things look weird over there. And I just like again, I like Dan Lanning. I like Dan Lanning a lot. Not that he's one of
Yeah.
those guys who cares about getting, his guys to the pros, but
I mean, you sent in a lot of them.
he's gotten a lot of them there. And I like Dan Lanning a lot. So we'll see. I mean, this season with college football is just so random. I always like part of me is always convinced Georgia's the best team in the country at all times. Even last year and this year. And then clearly maybe they're not. But so that's college football. That's our college football talk for the day. So your topic that you've been thinking about wanting to
Yeah.
get to.
So I have to be very careful with how I word this
Mm,
and bring this up
right, bro.
because there might be some people that are very quick to judge what I'm saying and actually consider it misogynistic,
Whoa.
right? But I just want to get this out there that like I'm trying to be very careful that it doesn't come off that way.
All right.
But here we go. So, as a guy, I have found it oftentimes difficult to find. I find it very rare to find a girl that I consider to be like legitimately very funny. And I've always wondered, is that because like that's something that like biologically guys develop quicker at? Or is it simply because I'm a guy, they're a girl, we find different things funny, and you think of different things and your brain just works differently? But then so I've always like kind of thought that, and I didn't know if that's like, is that misogynistic? Is that just like I'm just different than girls? And then I saw this clip from that I thought was really interesting from Nikki Glazer. Do you know who that
Okay.
is? The like
Yeah, yeah,
female
yeah. I know you
comedian,
later.
like
Yeah, yeah,
roast person, who I feel
yeah.
like is someone who has a very like I don't necessarily find her hilarious, but I feel like she has a very masculine type of like humor.
Sure.
And she was on a podcast and she was saying a lot of guys don't find girls funny because as a young kid, what you find funny is like poop jokes and butt jokes and like fart sniffer jokes. But when you're a young girl, you like get looked down upon if you are like constantly making jokes like that. So then you never like, get the like class laughing, and then you never fully identify yourself as being like the funny person. But like for guys, it's a lot when you're a young kid, like it's more socially acceptable to make a poop joke,
Yeah.
a butt joke when you're like 12. And then like you identify yourself with being like a class clown or like being funny with your friends and like you're a funny person. And then I feel like that like not only makes you find different things funny when you're only allowed to joke about certain things, but what I like oftentimes like I'll find like a male comedian more funny than a female comedian is sometimes I feel like there's more like layers to the jokes. Like you have to like go another like mental step further to like understand a joke and like understand the underlying thought
I see
behind
what you're
it.
saying.
And then that's what makes it funny. And what makes a joke funny is like expecting one outcome and getting something else, blah blah blah. And so I just find that like really interesting in terms of like how things so when I say like I wanted to word this well so I didn't somehow come off as misogynistic because I think the underlying tone from what she was saying is that I heard that and I always like kind of figured like it's not because like the male brain works at a higher efficiency or something like that and something that's just untrue. Like I didn't think that, but I never knew the truth. But I think it actually comes off as being like I'm empathetic towards
Right.
girls that are not able to develop in that way because of what like society has deemed okay and not. And like Nikki Glazer seems like someone that has like kind of broken that. I don't know.
Yeah, no, I agree to the extent that like it is easier for guys to make like just like cheap jokes for laughs. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like like yeah, growing up it was like, like poop jokes and then like, as time goes on, when middle school jokes like I'm not going to repeat, but like it's stupid stuff that would just make us laugh and you can get away with it saying it now and just kind of get a cheap laugh because it's like, oh yeah, that was funny when that happened, like in middle school or when I heard that in middle school. And then I even look at comedians like in the mainstream. And like Bert Kreischer is a great example. Like his whole thing is just that he like doesn't wear a shirt and is loud. And it's just like that's not really funny, but like he kind of gets away with it
Yeah.
because like we just kind of agreed somehow we just kind of agreed like yeah this is a funny guy and not to say he doesn't have funny bits, he does, but for the most part I'm just like what's the joke, like what's the joke here, but it's like we still laugh at it because it's like oh big man no shirt funny haha like one of those and
Yeah.
Like women don't really have that option. You know, it's like tougher for like women in everything, not just in comedy, but like they get judged harsher. And like I think that's fair to say and most things. I think that's a lot of that falls on insecurities of a lot of men in life, but it's like tougher to like everything sort of needs to be perfect.
Yeah.
For like someone to judge a woman and be like, "Oh yeah, she's funny," and it not be like, why is she saying it that way? You know,
Yeah,
why
I
would she
think
do it
that
that way?
even leads to like sometimes just like less I don't really know how to describe this, but honestly, I was thinking, I would just like remember, I saw this podcast clip like yesterday on like something,
Yeah.
and it was just a clip from a podcast, and I was thinking about it on my run today, and then I was even thinking like, I feel like that like bleeds so much into the rest of your life, where like just like it compounds for like,
Oh, for sure. I think if anything, this is like a window into how other things get viewed, how other things get judged. I think about the same thing in sports. You know, sports media, um, and not necessarily just sports media, but I think with sports media is that like I still will have people come up to me as like a someone who works in sports media and be like, isn't it insane that, you know, so and so is like, why is that woman? I'm not gonna say like what specific woman, but like, why is that person like on that analyst desk with all these former players? Like Mina Kimes is a great example. Like Mina Kimes is a great football analyst, right?
yeah,
Like she does a good job. And there are people in the like people question Mina Kimes's credentials. So why is she there? Nobody has ever questioned Nick Wright's credentials. Nobody has ever questioned
right.
like
I
people
think
say
Mina Kimes knows more about like the
oh,
sport of football than he does.
way more,
Yeah,
way more. Nobody's ever questioned, you know, Skip Bayless. Like people hate Skip Bayless, but they don't say he shouldn't be up there because he's never played football before.
right.
Same thing with Stephen A. Smith. Like they think these people are dumb, but they're not being like they shouldn't be up there because they've never played. And it's the same thing where people will be like, "How does she know? She's never played football." Women in general just kind of have to like, you know, and it falls on us too. But it's like they get judged harder. They get judged more critically because we're less. It's for us up until this point of our lives. It's been more rare to see people see women in those moments. Like when you were 14, 15, and if you were watching a comedy, you were not going to be looking for a female led comedy. Even if you were, it was going to be kind of rare. Like there weren't a lot of them to see it. And so now that like, you know, maybe it's happening more, people, it's the same thing where people are just like, oh, it's different. So I feel uncomfortable. People do like the whole, oh, Disney's gone woke thing. And it's just like, there's like two different, like the two new Marvel movies that have like people of color as the leads, and they're like, what is this forced diversity? It's like, well, no, it's just like it's just different, you know, it's just like different than what it's been. It's not like anyone's pushing anything on you, and then so I just feel like yeah, it falls on people just kind of being insecure with change.
Mhm.
um and like people thinking, oh, I'm being replaced. It's like, no, no, you're not. Relax. You were
Yeah.
never, this is never, you know, but
Yeah.
about it.
It's just crazy to think of like this. I like get into it from like a behavioral science type of thing, where it's like the snowball effect of not being able to like, I don't know, just feeling more like societal pressure to like be like ladylike, how that
Yeah.
like snowballs. Where I was thinking like there's so many stories that my sister would tell me of like her and her friends that would be like just funny stories, you know, and it'd be like, I'm just making this up. This isn't a true thing, but it'd be, oh, like my friend Jessica in college was so crazy. Like this one time she wore like her hat sideways
Yeah.
for 20 minutes at a party
Yeah.
and she's
Yeah.
like the craziest person ever. And I'm like, that's the craziest person, you know?
Yeah.
Like I just completely made that up, but it'd be
No, I
something like
get
that. It's
you.
like the like 80th craziest story from like I can remember in college living with 8 guys is like when one guy called my friend a bitch and we went through like a whole hour-long plan of getting him to stand in one spot in our basement during a party where we opened the like laundry chute and like dumped water on him. Or like my friend like got too drunk and fell asleep in his bed, and my other friend was drunk and like fire extinguished him in the face. Like, and then there's like Jessica like wore her hat sideways. She like
Yeah.
wore like a
Yeah.
cowboy hat and she's so crazy. You know what I mean? Like at
Yeah,
first
but I
I've always
think
been like why do they think that way? But now like thinking
right.
about it further, it's like maybe like I should feel like a little bit more empathy towards them because I have actually had it like easier to have those like experiences like grow within me just because I don't have societal pressure as much. I don't know.
No, I agree. Like I think you're making a good point. It's like we as guys get away with a lot more. Like we
Mhm.
can get away with a lot more. You know, let me put it this way. Well, I guess it depends on the context. But like let's say you guys do the laundry chute thing, right? But let's say the person who like is masterminding this is like a woman, right? And she's the only woman in that group that's deciding to do it. There's gonna be someone in that group who resents her like more. I think maybe because it's just like an in and out thing. So like women just like I think in general, it's tougher to find that niche group, niche comedic part of the group
Mhm.
without sort of feeling still like an outsider. And then obviously, yeah, I think, yeah, as a woman, like, hey, I'm wearing my hat backwards or wearing it sideways. It's just like, yeah, that's what like people get away. You can just get away with it, and it's just like, oh, it's funny and it's harmless, right? Like it's harmless and it doesn't really matter. And I agree. It's like, what are we doing here? Um, but to a certain extent, it's just like if they were to push that boundary, if they were to push that limit more, like it's more likely that a random person is going to be like, why would they do that?
Right.
When you tell me that laundry chute story, I'm like, oh, that's hilarious. Like, that's great. But I'm sure there are people out there who probably don't feel that way. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
So
like
it's
if
just,
they did it, they'd be like, "Oh, like that girl's a bitch."
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And that's the thing is like, it's just easier to talk down to women, I think. Not that I do it, but I'm saying like in general. And that's
Yeah. And that's
why,
stuff that had just like never really fully clicked in my mind, like why that is. Because at first, like I kind of brought it up in the beginning, I was like, I guess I just like find different things funny and like my brain works differently because I'm a guy, but like there's actually a lot more that goes into it than that. Um, I don't know. That just like really sparked my interest. And when I was bored on my run today, it like randomly popped into my head and I went down this whole like rabbit hole for like 2 miles of my run, just thinking about like what other small things happen when you're like a little kid that like then shape you to who you are for the rest of your life.
yeah,
Pretty crazy. Like the other thing I was thinking about, um, I'm just like really trying to cancel myself, I guess. But it just in terms of like with the election coming up
sure. Let's get into this.
on a like grand scale look at just like the the process of voting for something or someone on like the surface seems like the most fair thing is
Right.
everyone gets a say, everyone votes because it affects everyone. But like on this like massive scale, there's so many people that are like so easily manipulated one way or the other because you start from just like an uneducated like standpoint from the aspect of you're a baby, you're uneducated, and you grew up in a Republican household, a Democratic household. There's a 99% chance that you're going to be like the same exact thing as your parents because it's just like who gets to you first and explains their side of the story, and then that's what you're going to believe more than likely. That doesn't always happen. Sometimes it makes you go the complete opposite. But like I would assume statistically, like that's the way you go. And then for me, it's like I feel like I know so many more people that are so much have are just so much more educated on the topics that will be affected by who wins the election than me. But my vote counts the exact same amount. And like I remember like the first time I was technically old enough to vote, I was like what do I don't know anything. Like why should I like even have a say? And
Yeah.
people are always like, no, you need to vote because it's your civic duty. And you could say, like, it's completely on me. Like, it's my fault for not taking the time to educate myself. And that is a very valid point. But I don't think I'm the only person out there that feels like they're not even educated enough to, like, pick a side. But then you have to but then like and then you extrapolate that to a grand scale, like how many people are voting and like deciding which way things are going to go in like our country and just have absolutely no idea what they're talking about. Like does that mean there needs to be like a test they have to take to be like able to vote? But I also know that that comes with a lot of political like that's very unfair to a lot of people who haven't had the same educational
Right.
resources growing up as other people. But it's also like who it kind of seems like a bad system.
I see what you're saying. I mean, like the undecided voter in this country is just like, I mean, they at this point sort of determine who's voting, right? Like who wins. However, the last couple elections, 2016, 2020, seemingly has come more down to voter turnout, especially 2020, like voter turnout, like convincing those people who are super left or super right to actually go out and vote. Like the people who are educated who haven't been voting, like Joe Biden, if you remember in the 2020 election, was like losing until like 9:30 p.m. and it looked like Trump was going to win. And then they were like, "Oh, by the way, like we have the mail-in ballots, like the absentee ballot. Like we haven't counted those yet." And once they counted it, it was Biden by a million. And so it's one of those things, and like that's a turnout thing, right? That's because compared to 2016, obviously COVID changed a lot of the way voting happened. Um, but like when I think of like who's going to win the election in 2024, like in next month, less than a month, oh wow, that's snuck up on us. But when I think like who's going to win the 2024 election, a lot of it's annoying because it really comes down to like three states. Like it's like, okay, who's going to win Pennsylvania? Who's going to win Arizona and North Carolina? So your vote, your vote's big.
Like great thing that like I've been studying
Yeah,
uh
but
political science for 80 years and can really make a great decision.
exactly. So it's just like the way it works. It's like we look at the states, we look at the country, and it's like we know the outcomes of like 45 of the states already.
Mhm.
Like it's coming down to like five states, like Arizona, Pennsylvania. Some people want to convince themselves Florida still, but it's like those people's votes are what matters. And it's like the turnout there is what who's going to determine the election. And I think that's the more broken system is like if everyone did have like if it was like one for one, like everyone got one vote and it counted the same, they all counted the same, then like that seems more fair than what we have now. And I understand the criticism of having a popular vote determine the president is that if everyone's votes matter the same, then the candidates are going to just campaign in the biggest cities as opposed to going to North Dakota or opposed to going to Montana or opposed to going to, in Arizona. And like I understand that argument, but it just feels weird to me that like a random guy in Pennsylvania's vote is like infinitely more important than anyone in California or anyone in Texas or anyone in like
Right.
it's infinitely more important. And it's just weird to me that that is sort of the system. Like I understand that what the intent was, but like this is where we are now. Like this is the state of the electoral
Yeah.
college as it
I feel
stands.
like there just isn't a perfect system, and you just kind of have to pick the one that is the least bad. But
Yeah,
like that's kind of where we're at. And the other
yeah,
weird thing is like I feel like people tend to look at like the left and the right almost as like the sports team that they root for. And
yeah.
the funny thing is that it's like if the Bills played the Patriots and then the winner got to like absorb the other team and like it like stay as them, and then like the if the Bills beat the Patriots, then like Patriots fans would have to like half root for the Bills.
Right, because it's like you don't want, like, let's say, yeah, whoever gets elected, like in theory, like, you want them to do a good job because you're living in the
Yeah,
country. You want them to do the best job
yeah.
possible. It affects you. Um,
It's
they're
just
still
like
quiet
funny.
editing it. It is, and I agree with you that, like, yeah, the way people root for politics has kind of gotten into a weird way, and
Yeah,
especially after the election, you have a lot of people just kind of like, well, what now? I guess,
yeah. And then there's people that are like, yeah, I'm moving out of the country. It's like, no, you're not.
So, but yeah, the election it's coming up. It is coming up. Halloween also coming up. Halloween is
Yeah,
before.
I have a wedding that weekend though, so
I um I have that weekend off. Shout out.
oh,
I
is
haven't
it the
had a
Bills
weekend
bye week?
off. No, Bills bye week is Thanksgiving. It's the Bills are in Seattle that weekend.
Gotcha.
So yeah, I don't know.
Gotcha.
I was
You
told
going to the Monday night game?
I'm not, unfortunately. I will be.
Oh, I guess it's in New York, not Buffalo.
Yeah, I'll be in the station.
Fair enough. But
We talked about this last week. Oh man. Well, we talked about this last week a little bit, which was goals for this week, and mine was making a video.
oh
Give,
yeah,
give a little update on that. So I've begun, or not begun. I actually started it a while back. But I had started actually like editing it and write and sort of continuing to write it. And so the idea of it early on was like to make it like a quick 4 minute thing, like, hey, here's the story of insert thing. And that was what I had decided to do. And I was going to do a 4 minute thing. And as I started doing it, I kind of got more interested in a different part of the story. Right. And that kept happening where I was like, oh, this is interesting. I'm going to dive deeper into this. Oh, this is part's interesting. I'm going to dive deeper into this. So, what that has become is sort of like a longer piece. Like, it's going to, like, right now, like, it's not
hmm.
going to be 4 minutes long. It's certainly not going to be 4 minutes long. And what I kind of told myself was like, I was like, what I like doing is obviously the longer form pieces. The whole thing when I wanted to do the 4 minute video was sort of like a proof of concept, like, hey, I can do this thing and this is what it would look like. And that's why I was doing only the 4 minutes. But like as I started working on it, I was like, this deserves more time. So I'm continuing to work on it. I'm pretty deep into it right now. That's almost, I would say it's almost done, but it'll be done soon enough. But I'm taking my time with it more. And that's sort of what I told myself was I was like, at work, I have like less than a day to finish a piece. If I'm doing a feature piece, I have less than a day to finish it because I have to shoot it, write it, edit it, script it all in one day, and anchor in one day. Less than a day because I have to, I get in late, whatever. For this, I was like, if this is really going to be like a passion, personal project for me, it's like I want to be able to take my time with it. And I know that
Hmm.
sounds like procrastinating. I promise you, like, I'm not. Like, I've actually done like an insane amount of work on this. Like, we were talking about my days off, like Wednesday and Thursday, even though I worked Wednesday and Thursday, like, we're filled with researching for this topic and also editing. Like, I've already edited a good portion of it, and I like how it looks visually. So, one of those things that I took, the first steps were already taken before this week, and I kind of like took a million more steps this week, but I still am like when I'm in a spot where I'm like, I'm gonna keep doing that. Like, I don't want to rush this out. So very happy with where I'm at right now. And I'll keep kind of giving updates throughout the weeks, but I expect it to come out. I don't want to give a timeline, but I don't like it's not gonna be in a couple months. It'll be in like a couple weeks, if any, if
Sick.
even.
Yeah,
So
I'm excited
that's
to see it.
It
Um,
was cool because it was like I was working on it last night, and again, it was my day off. Thursday's my day off, and I was working on it. When I started working, I was like, man, I'm tired. Like it's my day off. Like I just want to chill. I just want to relax. And I kind of pushed myself. Like I just open up Premiere and do something, try something, and then that's what I did. And as time went on, like I was like, oh, I like this. And I just kept working on it, and it
yeah,
went from like, oh, I'll just open up for 15 minutes, and I was on it for a long time, like a couple hours. So, yeah, excited for it. Very happy about that.
I feel like that's a sign of like when you really truly enjoy something.
For sure. Yeah, and that was the thing. It was like I'd rather like as I was working on it, I was like I'd rather be doing this than anything else.
Hmm.
Um, and it I don't know if you feel the same way because you obviously go to school right now. Presumably your classes are Monday through Friday, and then you have a regular weekend. My schedule is so weird right now where it's like having the days off Tuesdays and Thursdays, and then Wednesday being a day where I get out early, but it's actually a super long day. I feel this pressure to like have to do things on my off days. Like I can't be like just chill. I can't be like relaxed.
Right.
Working on that for like 8 hours, or not 8 hours, but however long I worked on it for, it definitely wasn't 8 hours, but however long I was working on it for, it was like I feel very accomplished at the end of the day, but it was also something I enjoyed doing. It wasn't like it didn't feel like
Hmm.
work, still like relaxing, and so I'm excited for that kind of relationship to continue. Um, so that was a lot of fun.
Yeah, sick. What are your goals for next week?
I want to continue working on it. Obviously, I don't want to get ahead of myself. Well, you go first. What's your goal for this week, and then I'll hop in.
Um, I feel like I don't necessarily have a lot going on in the next week. Um, this is the second biggest week that I just had in terms of marathon training. It
Yeah,
like pulls back a little bit next week and then has the biggest and most mileage of any week during the 18 weeks the following week. So next week is kind of like a kind of week to like load up, but to have a specific goal for it.
I mean, you'll have to have one in theory.
I mean, I think I kind of said this last time, but like as I have this extra time to keep posting my short form content every single day.
Nice.
I have a video actually. I think I maybe talked about it last time.
You definitely talked about a video last time, but I don't know if it was the one.
It was about like laterals and how like rugby
No. Oh,
stuff
oh,
could be
oh. I saw it, but I don't think you talked about it.
so I had a video. Like I've been posting short form videos for like a couple of years now, and I posted this on TikTok and it got like 50K about how laterals are becoming more common in the NFL and how if a team like really went all in and brought in a rugby coach and like had a massive piece of their offense be centered around having like option style laterals, it could like break the NFL for a short period of time until defenses adjust.
Yeah.
And I also posted it as a reel on Instagram, and it's at like 900,000 views,
Damn.
and it's gotten me like 100 followers. Yeah.
That's pretty incredible.
So like, and it's like it's still going, so it's probably gonna get to 1 million at some point, which is like infinitely better than any video I've ever posted.
Yeah,
And it
that's
was like
incredible,
kind of
though.
a like random video. Like I've been watching film a little bit, and it's just like, oh, like this actually looked like kind of a rugby play here at the end of the game when they were doing like the lateral stuff when the game was already over, essentially.
Yeah. That's
And I just pulled
yeah,
out my phone and recorded it, and now it's gonna probably at some point here in the next week or two hit 1 million views.
that's yeah, that is very cool. That's a
So
big accomplishment.
yeah, which feels really good because like I said, I've been posting for so long and I've never sniffed anything close to that. And what I'm kind of realizing is it's just like you gotta just keep taking swings every single day, and it's just gonna be like having a few of those, and that's what's gonna build a platform.
I mean, yeah, it's just like it's so the unexact science,
Yeah.
the imperfect science of like creating a community.
Yeah. Like you can put in a ton of effort for a video and it'll get nothing.
Yeah.
And you can just do one that takes 10 seconds and it can, double your platform.
And when I was yeah, it's when I was in Binghamton, I grinded every single day to do whatever. But did two documentaries, did two different half-hour weekly special shows that all did good. Like they all had like people enjoyed them in Binghamton. Like they did well. I People knew me for them. Certainly knew me less for the documentaries, which always annoyed me because I was like that was the stuff I was most proud of and
Yeah.
people kind of cared the least about. My last 2 months there, I did a list. The top 40 most, I think I've talked about it on the podcast, like the top 40
Yeah.
most impactful athletes in Binghamton's history. And it was kind of almost like a throwaway thing. It was like, okay, we have nothing to do in the summer. Let's just do this project. And it'll be, in theory, the idea was like, it'll be kind of a lighter load on us. It was not a lighter load on us at all. Maybe a little bit, but it was still a lot of work.
Hmm.
And people went crazy for that more than anything. And it always bothered me because it's like, this isn't good. Like, it wasn't bad by any means. I still like, I'm happy-ish with it, but I'm like, this is compared to everything we've done. Like, this is stupid. Like, this is just trivial, but it comes down to what people see and share. And if I post something where I'm ranking your buddy from high school 30th most impactful, you're gonna tell everyone about that,
Yeah.
you know.
That
And
makes sense.
with rugby, like it's weird because NFL is not niche at all, but rugby is niche. And
Hmm.
so you have that aspect of people who follow rugby and NFL is niche. And it's almost better to find that because a million people, like, yeah, I'd be willing to bet, like, how many people in this country, in the United States, not just in the United States, how many NFL fans internationally in the world have played rugby? There's probably a lot. It's
Hmm.
probably less than 1% of the fans in the NFL. There's so many fans in the NFL, like, that's still going to be a huge
Yeah, there's so
portion.
many comments that are like, I've thought this my entire life. Like
Yeah.
people put it on their story. Then all the comments are like, no team would ever do this because it is way too risky and possessions are worth way more in the NFL than in rugby, which like is kind of true, but it's also like they're elite level professional athletes. They can catch a ball from 3 feet away while running. And it's like then people argue, and then it got into like, well, it's just because rugby athletes are like have much better hand-eye coordination and are better athletes from like the people over there, and then that would piss people off, and then it just exploded.
Yeah.
But the big thing is to just stay consistent
Yes.
getting stuff out because then you never know what's going to blow up and it does that. And then the stuff that you're really proud of that you actually like, the whole reason you're kind of doing this, then will get more exposure because you've had these other kind of breakthroughs.
Yeah.
It's kind
Yeah.
of my thought process.
No, it's a good way of thinking it. And then once you have a video with 1 million views or whatever, there's going to be people who find that your take on it interesting enough to go look back at the old stuff.
Hmm.
And then you basically, that's sort of how you get a fan, right? Like you have someone stumble upon you. Oh, that's interesting enough. Check out another video. The other video is just as good as the last one. And then, you have someone who's going to keep coming back.
Right.
But yeah, you're right. Consistency is so key. It's so, so important. And I mean, that's in all things, but certainly in just like the algorithm's eyes.
Hmm.
Um,
Yeah.
but yeah,
So I
I
guess
think
that's my goal.
yeah.
Staying
All right.
consistent for the week.
My goal, I have a weird week. I think I'm going to New Jersey at some point, but I'm not really
Is
sure
it
if,
Laurel?
yeah, but
Yeah.
I'm not sure. That's sort of up in the air right now. I don't know if that's actually going to happen or not. So that's sort of like my schedule next week is going to kind of be based around that.
Sure.
At least my Thursday day off. I'm going to go out there and say, I want to get it's tough because I don't want to be like, what's the attainable goal, right? Like if I say I'm gonna get real good, I'm gonna get most of the project done. It's like, well, what is most of the project? But
Hmm.
I'm gonna take a sizable step in the project where I can reasonably kind of show parts of it to you after we stop recording next week. And like there be something more than just like right now, if you look at the timeline on my premiere project, it's just like I don't know, it's good. Like there's a lot to it, but you're just not going to be able to understand what's going on.
Hmm.
So I want to be able to get like a sizable portion of the project done where I can feel comfortable showing it to someone and being like, hey, look at this.
Yeah, I want to see it.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Sick.
Hint. I'll give a hint. That's actually,
Ooh.
it's not a niche topic at all. It's not a niche topic at all. But hint, the project started with Tyler Buckner, the former Alabama and Notre Dame quarterback who then played for Notre Dame lacrosse and won a national championship. So that
Mm.
was the original concept, was to make a story about him and how kind of weird his story to play two different Division I sports for some of the best programs in the country. I mean, he won a national championship in lacrosse and he played for Alabama. He played for Nick Saban. So like what that path looked like. I ended up kind of dropping that. Not to say I won't go back to it, but that's sort of where that was the original story that I've now kind of dropped for something I found more
Is it
interesting.
now just like all dual sport athletes?
No, no, but no, I am going to talk about dual sport athletes though, because it is like,
That's sick.
it's kind of insane. Like you got to realize like how hard it is to play college athletics, or like the odds of getting to play college athletics, but doing that in two sports is like, whoa, like you got to be, especially at the Division I level. But
Yeah, that is insane. I maybe this can be a topic for next time if we talk about that stuff, just because we're kind of wrapping up here. But one other thing I was thinking about on my run is that I feel like I've gotten to a point in my life where for the last like 5, 6, 7, 8 years, I thought I wanted to like be like elite, like really good at one thing. Like at first it was I really want to work in sports and like devote my whole life to like working for an NFL team. And then it was I want to start a business, open a gym, like have a coaching business and like devote my life to that. And now I'm kind of getting to a point where it's like I feel like it's more interesting to be really good at a lot of things rather than like absolutely amazing at one and like ignore all aspects of the rest of your life. Like now it's like I kind of want to have like a normal 9 to 5 job that I like work hard at and like build a career in that to like maybe have my own business in the future, but also train for a marathon and also have a podcast and also make short form content like and also do football like sports analysis
well
stuff,
rounded,
also
yeah.
do lifestyle stuff and also do fitness stuff and like just be like whatever I'm interested in rather than just like pick one thing and like shut the rest of my life off.
Yeah, being well rounded is like a very,
I find it like just more fun.
I was gonna say, like I feel like it's kind of difficult, right? Like especially because it depends on how much time you have in your life, but like but once you do it, it's like probably really thrilling, Like it's an
Yeah,
incredibly thrilling thing to do. And
keeps everything like interesting.
yeah. I'm kind of on the opposite trajectory right now where I'm like gung ho on this video
Well, it's
production.
a give and take, and we can get into the
Yeah.
next episode, but it's like at the same
But
time, like to be really successful at a specific thing, like that's you also gotta
yeah,
sacrifice.
for sure. And my thing is like if I wanted to be more well rounded, I probably could be. It's just I'm like kind of very bad at not throwing myself into one thing, you
Yeah,
know. Like I'm
that's
like
what I
I'll
feel like
like
I have struggled with until I'm kind of figuring it out a little bit now.
yeah. So good topic for next week potentially, which is the Fred Jackson episode. We're almost there,
The
baby.
Fred episode, let's go.
I cannot
What
wait.
other 22s?
What other
Jimmy
22s?
Butler,
Jimmy Butler, um CJ
Rashid
Anderson,
Shaheed.
CJ Anderson, I think.
Why do I feel like he was 28? No,
You might can look
maybe.
that up. Me in CYO basketball. Yeah, CJ Anderson was 22.
Let's go. 22. Jimmy Smith, Ravens corner, that is retired from Colorado.
I'm trying to think who wore 22 after Fred Jackson retired with the Bills because they didn't retire it.
What number was Zach Moss?
Norman?
21.
Norman?
Josh Norman?
Josh Norman? Maybe he wore 20. Oh, you were 29. What am I talking about?
22. There's got to be another good running back that's 22.
I'm looking it up.
This is such an awful question, but what number is Christian McCaffrey?
You were number 1 or something like that?
No, Debo's one.
Ah,
Is
that's it.
McCaffrey 22? Okay, we do this every single time, and then I feel like we think we're way better at this than we actually are.
No, we're really bad at it.
He's 23. I don't know what else.
I law. Wait, Ed Reed? We're number 22? That can't be right.
No, he was 20.
Why does it say the
Maybe
Hall
he
of
wore 22 when he was on the Texans or Jets.
That's what I'm thinking. Yeah, but does that really count? I mean, I guess it does.
I mean, yeah. I mean, like if you had thought of it, I would have counted it.
George Blanda were 22. I don't think this list is right. I think I'm just on a website of Matt Forte. Matt Forte.
I knew there was another good. I mean, yeah, that was obvious that there's going to be 22. I feel like is a more odd number than you'd think.
Emmett Smith.
Okay, I mean that's before our time.
I'm mad at myself. Clayton Kershaw.
Yeah, there you go.
Ricky.
Any other NBA players that are randomly 22?
Elgin Baylor, Moses Malone, Roger Clemens, Mike Schmidt, Jim Palmer, Bob Hayes, Paul Krause, Gaylord Perry, Mike Bossy, Brett Hull. Okay. Andrew McCutcheon, 22. Bernard King, 22. Larry Nance, Sr.
I don't feel horrible for missing these ones.
Matt Forte. Yeah, there's like honestly, like Asante Samuel. Honestly, there's not a lot.
Honestly, I think we just really need to say it's the Fred Jackson episode.
I think Fred Jackson. That's it. Next week.
That's what I will always think of for 22.
Next week when we start this pod, I was getting Matt Forte. Fred Jackson episode, full blank, parentheses, but in lowercase, CJ Anderson, comma, Matt Forte, end parentheses, that's it. We're not adding anyone else, just those guys.
No one else matters enough. Shout out Jimmy Smith.
No offense, Jimmy Butler.
Clayton Butler.
Roger
Clemens. All right. Peace out, everybody. Leave a like, leave a comment, subscribe, hit the bell, YouTube. Yeah. All right. All 11 of you that are watching look great today. Peace.
Thanks, guys.